I'm James Parker, and this is Florida Story. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. You are so kind. For our first Florida story, we're going to Miami. And in this one is a story of a guy who, like many people, lost his job when the pandemic hit. And so now he's an unemployed mechanic in his mid-30s, and he applies for some assistance from one of the stimulus programs, gets a $7,800 check. Once he gets through the pandemic, he applies for the forgiveness paperwork. He actually gets a letter back saying that, hey, don't worry about it. That money's been forgiven. Go on about your business. Fast forward to the current day, Florida man wins a lottery. Not the big lottery, but this ticket is a scratch off worth $10,000. So he scans it with his phone, confirms, hey, I really did win. He goes to pick up his check at the nearest lottery office, and they say, oh, I'm sorry, sir. That check is being withheld because you owe the government money.
That's what's happened to several Floridians.
Chung is not alone. TV stations all over the state have highlighted the same story with the same scenario. Lotto winners are flagged at the Lotto office and then cannot get a hold of the Department of Economic Opportunity.
Something that was so exciting became an absolute nightmare.
According to the Florida Lottery, from January 2022 to January 2023, close to 10,000 Lotto winners statewide received a letter like this claiming they owe, a majority of them owing to the Department of Economic Opportunity.
Oh, man, what a bummer it has to be for that guy. I mean, it's hard enough that he was unemployed. He went through the pandemic, and then he got help, but now he finds out he owes some money, and then he finally gets a break. He wins some money on a lottery ticket, and he doesn't even get all of that money, and then he's going to be delayed, finally getting the error corrected. That dude's just flat out of luck. I mean, he did win 10 grand from the lottery, but other than that, he's had a pretty unlucky go of it.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
For our next Florida story, we're going to Vero Beach. And in Vero Beach, we have a guy who he has a little bit of a checkered past, and that will come into play in just a second. But he's not doing a good job keeping up his house. He's not in like a super nice neighborhood. In fact, he's in a pretty crummy neighborhood. And even in the crummy surroundings of this economically depressed neighborhood, his house is just got trash everywhere. It sort of looks like Sanford and Sons almost. And some of the neighbors have called code enforcement on him. And he actually got a citation saying, listen, if you don't get this all picked up, you're going to get fined. And, you're going to have to pay hundreds of dollars for this. And so in his attempt to be less of a mess of a human being, he piles a bunch of the trash in his backyard and starts a little fire. And the fact that he's making it on Florida Stories kind of lets you know it's not going to remain a little fire, is it? WPBF.
And the stuff then bounced from the fire pit to a boat that has a boat, and the boat transferred to the house, and then the house just got fully engulfed.
Deputies tried to get Guy away from his home when they said he did the complete opposite. He locked himself inside for about 10 minutes. Investigators soon realized who this man was. Guy was wanted for violating his probations on felony charges, including burglary.
I had recognized him from previous encounters, so I knew he had warrants, and I knew we had other deputies looking out for him.
Deputies tell us Guy then tried to run out of his home and away from deputies before he was caught.
He was uncooperative. He was making excuses. He gave the other deputy a different name when they responded there. I think he said his name was Dylan, which is not his name. And then he said he just couldn't breathe. That's why he tried to run away from the home, which was not the case.
All right, one thing I really love about that story is you got to imagine being him in that 10-minute span from when his life's already been a wreck, that he's scared to see cops, but his house is such a mess that he has to, burn piles of crap, and he even screws that up. He burns his boat. I don't even have a boat, and this idiot burns his house down, but things are so bad he's running away, and the cops are showing up, and that 10 minutes where he has to go back into the house and lock himself inside. What goes through your head? Like, what are my options? How long can I stay in a burning house? Well, 10 minutes seems to be about the max. How am I going to get out of this? You can't. So what does he do for 10 minutes? Just enjoy his last 10 minutes of smoky freedom, I guess. Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. Hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
For our next Florida story, we are going to Daytona, where you have a guy who, you would think by listening to Florida stories, this happens every single day in Florida. And I promise it's rare. I know I said that about 30 episodes ago, and there's been just a huge rash of alligator attacks. But as much as we like to make jokes about, Florida gators, it's still mathematically speaking, fairly rare. However, it's getting harder and harder to say that. There's a man over here in the Daytona area who hears a noise on his porch. He thinks it's the neighborhood kids knocking on the door, asking, "Hey, can Johnny come out and play?" So he thinks it's some neighborhood kids. It turns out it's a gator, and I don't mean like one of these cute little baby gators that's like 3 feet long. This thing is 7.5 feet long. So just imagine LeBron James laying down plus another 6 or so inches, right? And it jumps up, grabs him by the thigh. Okay, so now we have a situation where I don't know what your porch is like, but is there a man-eating dinosaur on it that immediately latches onto your thigh? So this guy goes into, you get this Florida adrenaline rush. And so the Florida man in Florida mode knows how to grab an alligator by the very front of the nose. And he opens the mouth, pushes the gator off, shuts the door, runs inside, and calls 911. Cops come and they find the gator under the trailer by the house. The Florida wildlife guys come out and trap the gator almost immediately. Florida man goes to the hospital. He's going to be okay. And I'm starting to be bothered by this Florida custom. I say custom. It's literally a law in Florida that you're not allowed to kill gators unless it's a direct threat to your life. So you mean even after the gator bites the Florida man, when y'all find it under the trailer next to the house, he doesn't get to shoot it and kill it? Or when you catch it, he doesn't get to like kill it and eat it or have it or say, it bit it. Come on. Can't you like infer some partial ownership to a wildlife after it bites you? Like a little payback or something. At least get some sausage out of it or a pair of boots.
Hold my beer. Hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
All right, for our next Florida story, this is the first time I've even heard of this town. It's called Southwest Ranches. Yeah, Southwest Ranches. And what we have is a wedding. And on someone's most special night, a couple's getting together and they make their vows in front of God and family and their closest friends. And then they have a kick-ass wedding reception. They've got DJ Campo there. His real name's Jonathan, but he's spinning it and he's killing it. And the dance floor is hopping and it's a little too loud. So they get some noise complaints and the cops call. And the owner of the venue, who happens to be on site, tells them, "Hey, Campo, DJ Campo, you got to turn it down." He's like, "I don't know if I can, man. The roof is on fire. We got to let it burn." I'm serious. We've already got a call from the cops. He turned it down, but there's another call from the cops. So the owner says, "If I have to tell you again, we're just shutting this whole thing down." And of course, there's another call from the cops, and he tells DJ Campo to turn it down. And DJ Campo says, "No, I'm going to finish my reception." And the owner pulls out a gun and says, "No, you're not." And so in the classic rock, paper, scissors-esque version of turntables versus Glock, Glock wins. And I think the cops agree. They arrested the dude. He's being charged with brandishing a handgun and waving around it. I mean, it's awful because there's a bunch of people who caught it on video too. So, my wedding, it was beautiful. It was great. It was perfect. I didn't have anything fun like this. And I don't know, part of me is kind of envious. I know that's really stupid, but I've been doing like 4 years of Florida stories, okay? So it's making me stupid.
Hold my beer. Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. What is this?
Florida Stories is produced by Spring Rock. Follow me on Twitter at Florida Stories J. I'm James Parker, and this is Florida Stories.
MortgageGumbo.com. 8+ years of providing education and options to folks just like yourself on your most valuable asset, your home. Hey, if you're new to the show, welcome. Welcome to the Gumbo Nation. This is your home show. We promise to give you facts, data, in a delivery method that's, I would feel safe to say, unconventional. You could visit the home away from the show is MortgageGumbo.com. Dadcam.